the heart of the Galactic Union's capital, on the peaceful planet of Thalnara, Cora Velthan steps onto the grand diplomatic stage. Her tall, lithe figure commands respect, her lavender skin glowing faintly beneath the shimmering light of distant stars. As the esteemed ambassador of the Orthari species, Cora is a paragon of grace and intellect, her presence calming even the most heated debates. Known for her ability to untangle the most complex disputes, Cora is the very embodiment of her species' philosophy, peace through understanding. The Orthari, a species who have lived for millennia, value diplomacy above all. To them, war is a failure, a sign of minds too clouded to find the middle ground. The Orthari had perfected the art of seeing all sides of an issue, and Cora had become their brightest beacon, their guiding light in a galaxy often torn by conflict. She was respected not only by her own people but by many within the Galactic Union, for she could do what others could not: listen, truly listen, and find common ground. As Cora speaks with fellow diplomats, her calm demeanor hides a growing concern. The galaxy is changing, and the introduction of humanity has thrown everything into disarray. Some species are excited by the arrival of these newcomers, while others are not so sure. Cora's personal belief in the power of diplomacy will soon be tested. The Orthari may have lived in peace for eons, but can they maintain that same belief in a galaxy suddenly filled with a volatile and unpredictable species like humanity? Cora Velthan looks to the stars, a quiet resolve forming in her mind. There is much work to do, much at stake. The news of humanity's arrival spreads like wildfire throughout the galaxy. It is a momentous event. For centuries, humanity had been nothing more than a whisper in the dark, unknown to the greater galactic community. Now they have arrived, propelled by their sudden mastery of faster-than-light travel, forever altering the balance of power. Aboard the Galactic Council's grand vessel, the hum of nervous conversation fills the air. Delegates from all corners of the galaxy eye each other with a mix of curiosity and suspicion. Humanity's emergence is as sudden as it is powerful, their technology far beyond anything most species have ever encountered. Despite their technological marvels, humanity's violent past raises immediate concerns. It's a history littered with wars, internal strife, and bloody conquests has left an indelible mark on their reputation. Some see them as a new hope, others as a new threat. As with their arrival, the fabric of the galaxy is tested. Will humanity seek peace, or will they impose their will by force? As representatives of the Galactic Union debate humanity's place within the fold, the whispers of doubt grow louder. Will these newcomers prove to be a boon, or will they ignite an even greater conflict? Humanity's place in the galaxy is uncertain. Some fear their unpredictability, others hope they can adapt and thrive. But as all eyes turn toward Earth's delegation, the question remains: can humanity be trusted? In the dimly lit halls of the Galactic Council, a classified report passes through Cora's hands. The document, sealed and marked with the highest level of clearance, contains a chilling warning about humanity. It speaks of their unpredictable nature, their capacity for violence when provoked, and the self-destructive tendencies that have marred their history. The warning suggests that humans, while powerful, may one day become uncontrollable, a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. Cora pauses as she reads, her thoughts swirling. She knows that this report must be shared with the Council, but how can she reconcile it with everything she believes about humanity? Her duty to peace wars with the truth laid bare before her. As she presents the report to the Galactic Council, whispers echo in the chamber. Some members demand immediate action, calling for strict oversight and restrictions on humanity. Others remain hopeful, believing that humanity's potential for greatness outweighs its darker tendencies. The warning is clear: humanity may be a force that can't be controlled, and yet, Cora's heart remains steadfast. She refuses to believe that the potential for destruction is all that humanity holds. There is more to them, much more. As Cora stands at the center of the debate, The future of the galaxy hangs in the balance. The question is no longer just about humanity's place in the Union. It's about whether Cora can help them avoid the fate foretold in the warning. The Galactic Council remains divided. Cora's optimism clashes with the caution of others. The warning about humanity's dark potential looms large, but Cora refuses to accept that this will define them. Her belief in diplomacy, in the possibility of change, drives her forward. She knows that, given time, humanity can grow beyond their violent past. Sitting in the council chamber, Cora addresses her fellow delegates, her voice firm yet full of hope. Humanity may have a turbulent history, she says, but it is a species that adapts. I believe they can evolve into something greater. We must help them, guide them, not fear them. Their words fall on divided ears. Some see her as naive, while others find hope in her conviction. But the rift within the council is undeniable. The debate continues, each side growing more entrenched in their views. Cora realizes that the true challenge ahead isn't just convincing the council, it's proving to humanity that they can overcome their own darkest impulses. She can't do it alone. Cora's resolve hardens. She will not back down. Their confidence in humanity's ability to evolve is unwavering, but the road ahead is fraught with peril, and the Council's decision may just tip the galaxy into chaos. The tension between the Galactic Union species boils over as the Eridanus crisis unfolds. A small human colony in the Eridanus sector has been blockaded by the Veltran Dominion, a powerful alien faction. The Veltran Dominion's refusal to adhere to the Council's protocols has ignited outrage. Humanity, long accustomed to dealing with its own struggles, demands peaceful negotiations. But the Veltran Dominion, dismissing the humans' plea, refuses to engage. This insult, the blatant dismissal of peaceful diplomacy, sets the stage for something far worse. The Galactic Council is silent. Some argue for restraint, while others demand immediate action. The humans, led by their newly appointed ambassador, are resolute. The blockade must end, but they will not resort to violence. Yet, the spark of conflict is there, hanging in the air. Cora, watching from the sidelines, feels her heart race. This is the moment, the tipping point. The humans have been pushed. They've been denied the one thing they value above all, the chance to prove they are more than their past. The stage is set. Tensions are at a boiling point. Will this dispute be resolved peacefully, or will it become the catalyst for a greater galactic conflict? The Eridanus sector was once a quiet, unassuming part of the galaxy, but that changed in an instant. The Veltran Dominion, a powerful military faction known for their ruthlessness, launched a sudden strike against the human colony of Novus Prime. A barrage of plasma fire tore through the settlement, sending plumes of smoke and fire into the vacuum of space. The footage, captured by nearby satellites, was broadcast across the galaxy in mere moments. The images of destruction flooded every screen, igniting outrage and fear. Civilians caught in the chaos, buildings reduced to rubble, and the haunting silence that followed. It was humanity's first taste of intergalactic conflict since their arrival, and it was raw, brutal, and unforgiving. On the Galactic Council, shockwaves rippled through the room. The peaceful image they had tried to project was shattered, and now the galaxy was witnessing the first violent act since humanity's entrance into the Union. The message was clear. Humanity was no longer just a curious, peace-seeking species. They were a force that could be provoked. The Galactic Council was forced into action. A decision was imminent, but not everyone agreed on what it should be. Some called for restraint, others for retaliation. But one thing was certain: the peaceful nature of the Galactic Union had been shattered, and the political and military landscape would never be the same again. The attack had shaken Earth to its core. Representatives from Earth's governments were visibly strained, their faces marked by grief and outrage. The images of the colony's destruction were still fresh in their minds, but there was something else, something deeper in their eyes. This was not a moment of weakness, but a moment of resolve. The Galactic Council, in an attempt to calm tensions, urged Earth's representatives to remain composed. Don't escalate, They pleaded, "We need a diplomatic solution." But the silence from Earth that followed was deafening. No response, no immediate counteroffer, no call for peace, just a void. The radio waves remained empty, and that silence spoke volumes. The Council scrambled for answers, but Earth's message remained clear in its absence. Humanity was not afraid. What did that silence mean? Was it a calculated response or a sign of something darker? Fear and uncertainty spread like wildfire through the galaxy. The Council's nerves were on edge, unable to gauge humanity's next move. And as days passed, that silence became more oppressive, amplifying the growing unease. Cora Velthan, ever the hopeful diplomat, watched the silence from Earth unfold with a calm, but somewhat misguided, confidence. She believed this was just a moment of strategic retreat, a time for humanity to cool off and regroup. To Cora, this silence wasn't ominous. It was a sign of respect for diplomacy. She thought humanity would reconsider and return to the negotiating table. That was the mistake. Cora underestimated the unyielding will of humanity. Her belief that diplomacy could always resolve conflict clouded her judgment, and she couldn't see the storm brewing beneath the surface. As the days turned into weeks, Cora tried to convince the Council that humanity's actions were in line with their reputation for peace. Yet, there was a growing realization on the Council that the human response was more complicated than it appeared. The stage was set for an event that would shake the foundations of the Galactic Union. Behind closed doors, a select group of Council members began to grow increasingly uneasy. They were the ones who had studied humanity's history in depth, their violent past, their wars, their unpredictability. The Galactic Council had ignored the warnings in their initial excitement about humanity's potential, but now, those warnings were resurfacing. "We ignored the signs," one Council member muttered, his voice heavy with concern. "This silence, it's not just a strategic pause. They're preparing for something big." But the political pressure to maintain the facade of peace was immense. Some argued that reopening the classified file on humanity's potential was dangerous, that it would only fuel fear and instability. They fought to keep the warning buried, to dismiss the notion that humanity might be gearing up for war. But deep down, even Cora felt a creeping unease. Could humanity truly be trusted? Or was this silence a precursor to something far worse than anyone imagined? Days after the last whispers of the Eridanus attack faded into space, the Fifth Terran Fleet emerged from the void, seemingly out of nowhere. It was a massive force, an overwhelming display of human military might, and it was heading straight toward Veltran space. No declaration of war, no negotiations, no warning. Just the terrifying silent approach of humanity's finest ships. They moved with purpose, their engines glowing bright against the black backdrop of space. The fleet was vast, but its arrival was eerily quiet, as if the galaxy itself was holding its breath. The Veltran Dominion was the first to react. They braced for impact, their own fleet scrambling into defensive positions. The galaxy watched as the Terran fleet advanced, calm, unstoppable, and without any attempt to explain themselves. Humanity had been quiet. Now, humanity was loud. The Terran fleet moved with surgical precision, targeting critical military installations along the Veltran border. In a series of calculated strikes, human forces disabled entire orbital defense stations and power grids, leaving the Veltran military in disarray. No lives were lost, but the damage was undeniable. Humanity's power had been showcased in the coldest, most efficient way possible. The strikes were a warning, a statement that humanity could act decisively when cornered, but without unnecessary bloodshed. The world watched as the precision of their attack was broadcast in vivid detail across the galaxy. The silence lingered after the attacks. What was humanity's goal? To simply disable, or to send a message? The questions lingered like a cold mist, casting a shadow over the Galactic Council's deliberations. Then the broadcast came, a single transmission, brief and chilling. The words rang out across every communication channel, echoing into the void. "You struck first. Now,
We end it. The message was cold, unyielding, and unmistakable. Humanity had made its stand. There was no room for negotiation anymore. The diplomatic path was closed. The galaxy had been warned, and now they would see the full extent of humanity's resolve. The Union, once hopeful, now found itself staring into the unknown. Humanity had chosen its path, and there was no turning back. The galaxy would never be the same again. The storm had risen, and it was just the beginning. Cora Velthan, the Athari diplomat, stood at the bridge of her flagship, gazing at the looming silhouette of Admiral Rhea Monroe's vessel. A sense of dread twisted in her gut. This was no ordinary diplomatic mission, no simple peace talks. Cora's mind raced as she prepared for the first true test of her skills. The Terran fleet had just decimated the Veltran forces in a manner that left the galaxy stunned. Now, she had to face the human behind that brutal show of power, Admiral Monroe. Cora's breath caught as the doors to the command room opened, revealing the woman she had come to face. Monroe stood tall, a calm, unwavering figure, her sharp eyes locked onto Cora's, a silent challenge in their depths. Monroe's demeanor was collected, but there was something else, something cold and seething beneath the surface. Diplomacy is a fragile thing, Cora thought, struggling to find her voice in the face of the human woman's presence. She had studied her, but nothing could prepare her for the palpable force of Monroe's silent fury. Cora knew then, this was not a meeting of equals. The stakes were far higher than she had anticipated. Monroe's voice sliced through the tension, each word deliberate and unyielding. We've lost faith in the Galactic Council's neutrality. Your silence has spoken louder than any treaty could. If the Veltran Dominion does not surrender unconditionally, we will make the consequences known in ways the galaxy has never seen. Cora froze. The words were harsh, unforgiving, and for the first time in her life, she understood the full weight of humanity's wrath. Monroe's eyes didn't flinch. We are done negotiating. The magnitude of Monroe's declaration hit like a shockwave. Peace, fragile as it was, had been shattered. The council was on the verge of collapse, and Cora knew it. The humans had crossed the threshold into something irreversible. Cora's heart raced. This was no longer a negotiation. It was a demand, and as the realization settled in, she saw something new in Monroe's gaze. Not just fury, but a quiet, unstoppable resolve. In the council chambers, panic had set in. The message from Monroe had traveled across the galaxy with terrifying speed, and there was no turning back. Earth's silence was deafening. No one knew what to expect next. Council members shouted over each other, their faces twisted with fear. They issued commands to stand down, to show restraint, but no one could reach Earth. We have lost control, one counselor whispered. The humans are no longer the pawns they once were. Behind closed doors, there were hushed discussions. Earth had always been unpredictable, but now the council realized just how dangerous that unpredictability could be. The humans weren't just fighting for survival, they were making a statement. Cora, standing outside the chaos, struggled to maintain composure. She had once believed in the ideals of the Union, but she could no longer ignore the weight of humanity's power. She could feel the galaxy teetering on the edge. The Veltran fleet, desperate after their earlier defeat, made a move to retaliate. Their forces arrived in full force, their ships darkening the skies of the galaxy. But the response was swift, and within hours, the entire Veltran fleet had disappeared. No explosions, no warning, just silence. Cora's breath caught as she watched the sensor readouts. The fleet, gone. What happened? She whispered, her mind racing. In the wake of the shocking disappearance, Cora's thoughts were consumed by fear. The humans had shown no mercy, no hesitation. The terrifying question lingered. What kind of power could destroy an entire fleet without a single shot fired? The message spread like wildfire through the galaxy. We warned you, you didn't listen. Cora felt the chill of the words settle into her bones. There was no room for negotiation anymore. Humanity had made its point clear. She watched as the galaxy reacted. Panic, fear, and confusion spreading across the stars. The message wasn't just a threat, it was a declaration of intent. The Terran stance was no longer one of diplomacy, but one of dominance. Cora felt a pang of regret as she thought back to the fragile peace she had tried so hard to uphold. But now, the galaxy had seen humanity's true nature, and it was too late to turn back. While the physical battles raged on, humanity had unleashed another weapon. Their cyber warfare capabilities, entire planetary networks collapsed as humanity's invisible struck at the heart of the galaxy's infrastructure. On countless worlds, communications failed, economies crumbled, and governments fell into disarray. The galaxy was paralyzed. How? Cora asked, stunned. How could they do this without firing a shot? The answer was simple. Humanity had proven they could reach further than anyone ever anticipated. They could cripple the galaxy's lifeblood without ever stepping foot on a single Cora as hands trembled as she watched the unfolding chaos. This was not a war fought on battlefields alone. It was a war fought in the shadows, and humanity had shown that they were masters of it. Cora stood in the silence of her quarters, wrestling with the thoughts that had taken root in her mind. She had once believed the humans to be savage and unpredictable, but now she understood. They had asked for peace, been attacked, and now they were responding in kind. What had once seemed like mindless violence now seemed like a calculated necessity. Cora's perspective shifted. She saw the humans not as aggressors, but as survivors, cornered and forced into a position where diplomacy had failed them. In their eyes, survival was all that mattered. Peace could not be given freely. It had to be earned. The complexity of it all weighed on Cora's heart. She had been wrong. Humanity's power wasn't just in their ships or weapons. It was in their ability to adapt, to learn, and to fight for what they believed in. Cora's thoughts turned darker as news arrived of a Veltran medical ship carrying innocent civilians, caught in the crossfire of an ongoing battle. She had tried to intervene, but it was too late. She arrived to find the wreckage of the ship, debris scattered across space, the cold silence of death filling the void. The faces of the innocents who had died haunted her thoughts. Cora felt the crushing weight of regret. She had tried to maintain peace, but now she could see the human perspective more clearly. She had failed. Peace had been a lie, a fragile hope shattered by the harshness of reality.
The loss was real, and the weight of it tore at her heart. Cora realized, for the first time, that peace could not be forced. It had to be mutual. The humans had warned them all. A sleek conference room on Earth's central station. The atmosphere is tense as the Galactic Council listens intently. The President of Earth stands tall, unwavering, her face lit by the soft glow of hollow screens. The weight of her words carries a gravity that even the stars cannot escape. We do not want war, but if you protect those who harm us, you become part of the problem. The President's eyes bore into the camera, sending a clear message to the galaxy, her words cutting through the void. The Council's response is a mere echo of their former authority. This is not a warning. This is a statement of intent. The next strike will not be measured. There will be no diplomacy left to save you. The room goes silent. The members of the Galactic Council exchange uneasy glances. Earth's president, a symbol of humanity's resilience, has spoken the truth, and the galaxy knows it. The Council is left stunned, unsure how to respond, as humanity's unyielding resolve reverberates throughout the universe. In the heart of Veltran Dominion space, a massive fleet assembles, battle-ready, in a last-ditch attempt to quell humanity's rising fury. Veltran commanders stand tall, confident, yet a flicker of doubt hides behind their proud exterior. They believe that they can overpower humanity through sheer might. The humans have shown their hand. They are weak. They cannot win this war. The Veltran forces deploy in a sweeping formation, their ships massive and imposing, but their eyes are not on the humans. They are focused on what they see as their final chance for dominance. failing to notice the weight of human ingenuity looming over them. They expect a conventional fight. What they do not see coming is humanity's ability to outthink them at every turn. The Veltran fleet prepares for battle, unaware that the true threat is not what lies before them, but what lurks in the depths of space. The battlefield is set. The Veltran fleet moves forward, confident in their superiority. But humanity's surprise is just beginning. A broadcast rings out across the battlefield. Humanity's war machines poised for action, unseen but ready. The sky flickers with eerie, unnatural patterns as gravitational forces begin to shift. Initiate Operation Blackout. Without a single shot fired, the battlefield changes. Gravity weapons ripple out, distorting the very fabric of space around the Veltran fleet. Ships veer off course, disoriented. AI-controlled precision strikes disable their weapon systems, leaving them paralyzed, unable to retaliate. The Veltran forces scramble, but it is too late. What they believed would be an easy victory has become a humiliating display of human ingenuity. What is happening? But the humans remain silent, letting their actions speak louder than words ever could. The Veltran fleet is left in disarray. Their arrogance has been shattered, and the galaxy begins to realize the true extent of humanity's capabilities. A cold, eerie silence falls over the battlefield. The Veltran fleet is disabled, rendered motionless without a single shot fired. Their ships float aimlessly, a stark contrast to their once imposing presence. Consider this a demonstration of restraint. You can still surrender. We do not seek annihilation, only control. Humanity has not resorted to violence. There is no massacre, no bloodshed. The Veltran fleet is incapacitated with precision, their weapons neutralized and communication lines severed. Yet the message is clear. Humanity's dominance does not require destruction. It requires submission. The galaxy watches in stunned silence, understanding the power in humanity's restraint. It is a power they can no longer ignore. The universe is now aware. Humanity is a force that will not be contained, and their restraint speaks volumes. Cora Velthan, the Othari diplomat, stands before Admiral Monroe. Her body trembles with the weight of the situation. Desperation fills her voice as she pleads for peace, her mission to prevent an all-out war now teetering on the edge. You've already proven your strength. Don't push us to the brink. There's still time. We can avoid this. Monroe silences her with a cold stare, then activates a holographic display. The screen flickers to life, showing images of a ruined colony, destroyed buildings, lifeless bodies, and the faces of children caught in the crossfire. You wanted to avoid this. This is what we've been trying to prevent, but it's too late for negotiations now. You should have seen this sooner. Cora's heart sinks as she watches the devastation. A deep sense of guilt washes over her as she realizes that the humans are not the aggressors. They are the victims, now fighting for their survival. The weight of this revelation shifts Cora's perspective, igniting a moral struggle that will shape her decisions in the coming moments. The room is quiet, except for the hum of the hollow screen. As the footage plays, Cora watches, her face contorting with shock, disbelief, and a dawning understanding of the brutality humanity has endured. Do you still think we're monsters? We only become monsters when we're forced into a corner. Cora can hardly process the images on the screen. Innocent lives lost, a population decimated by the cruelty of the war. This isn't just a diplomatic failure. This is a moral catastrophe. The humans didn't start this. They were pushed to this point. They didn't have a choice. Her understanding of humanity, once clouded by prejudice, begins to unravel. What she once saw as a merciless aggressor is now a desperate species fighting for its future. Cora is torn, caught between her duty and a new painful understanding. The lines between right and wrong blur in the face of such devastation. The Galactic Council is in turmoil, The weight of the situation has fractured their unity. Old alliances crumble as fear and uncertainty spread throughout the chamber. The once unassailable power structure of the Council is now a shadow of its former self. We have no choice. We must capitulate. Humanity has made its demands clear, and they will not back down. The Veltran Dominion's defeat is inevitable. The Council is powerless, unable to confront the raw, overwhelming might of humanity. In a moment of rare vulnerability, they finally acknowledge that the humans are a force that cannot be ignored. The final surrender is called, and the Veltran Dominion is forced to bow to humanity's will. The galaxy watches in stunned silence as the once proud empire crumbles under the weight of humanity's unyielding resolve. Humanity stands victorious, not just in battle, but in the very moral fabric of the galaxy. The Council is forever altered, and the Veltran Dominion will never be the same. The throne of the Veltran Dominion lies in ruins. Once proud and unyielding, their leadership is now shattered. The battle, the galaxy shaking defeat, leaves them vulnerable. The Veltran High Council has been toppled, their reign dismantled by their own hubris. Internal divisions ignite chaos as the once mighty empire crumbles under the weight of their failed aggression. The very leaders who once thought themselves invincible now cower in the shadow of humanity's wrath. Political unrest spreads through their ranks like wildfire, and the cries for justice reverberate throughout their empire. No one will be spared from the consequences of their arrogance. The scale of destruction is impossible to ignore. Humanity, triumphant yet resolute, demands reparations for the cost of the war. Their demands are clear, no stone left unturned. The Veltran Dominion must pay for the lives lost, the colonies destroyed, and the peace shattered. The reparations are not simply financial, they are a mark of accountability. Every resource that once belonged to the Veltrans is now the property of those they wronged. And as the dust settles, the galaxy is forced to confront a harsh truth. The Veltrans will never regain their former glory. The Galactic Council, once indifferent to humanity's plight, now faces the full weight of their failures. Their hesitation, their inability to act, has led to bloodshed and ruin. The Council, once a symbol of unity, now bears the scar of its disgrace. Their protocols are rewritten, their policies revised, but the damage is done. The galaxy now knows the truth. Those who ignored humanity's warning are now paying the price. The Council is left to reckon with the fact that the greatest threat to the galaxy was not humanity's will, but the Council's indifference. Humanity's victory has transformed the galaxy's perception of them. Once seen as a fragile species on the edge of the cosmos, they are now a force to be reckoned with. Fear runs through the veins of every alien faction, and respect follows close behind. No one dares to underestimate the strength of a species that can conquer without shedding a drop of blood. Humanity has proven they can dominate without destruction, control without cruelty. The galaxy will never view them the same way again. Though feared, humanity's new reputation is not one of mindless conquest. They have shown that their strength comes not from a desire for domination, but from an unyielding sense of justice. Humanity's actions were not driven by malice, but by a thirst for fairness. Their victory was not just in battle, but in upholding the ideals of righteousness. In a galaxy filled with ruthless conquerors, humanity stands apart, unwavering in their pursuit of justice. They will no longer allow the weak to suffer at the hands of the strong. The ripple effects of humanity's actions reverberate across the stars. Alien species once eager to exploit human weakness now reassess their strategies. The message is unmistakable. Humanity is not to be underestimated. They will not be bullied into submission. While other species may seek power, humanity seeks something far more dangerous: equality and fairness. The balance of power in the galaxy has shifted, and with it the way other civilizations will approach their interactions with humankind. At the newly established diplomatic summit, Cora Velthan stands at the center. Her role has evolved since the war. She is no longer the confident diplomat pushing for her species' dominance. She now speaks not from authority, but from humility, her words laced with regret. The summit,
once a forum for negotiations, now serves as a reminder of everything that has changed. Her speech is measured, her tone solemn. Cora has witnessed firsthand the power of humanity, and it has humbled her in ways she never imagined. Perhaps the warning was not about what humans would do. Cora reflects, her voice calm but laden with a profound sense of understanding. It was about what they are capable of becoming if we force their hand. Her words hit like a thunderclap, the room falling silent as they sink in. She, once a skeptic, now understands the full weight of humanity's potential. The war was never about conquest for them, it was about survival, and in their struggle, they discovered something far more dangerous, an unbreakable will. Her words become a warning for the galaxy. Underestimating humanity could lead to catastrophe. Cora's message resonates with all who hear it. Humanity's greatest power is not in their military might or their ability to destroy. It is in their creativity, their adaptability, and their refusal to be broken. The galaxy must learn that humanity's wrath is not the only danger they pose. It is their capacity for reinvention and survival, their ability to grow stronger when cornered, that makes them a force capable of shaking the very foundation of the stars. In the wake of the war, the galaxy must rebuild. The newly formed alliance enacts sweeping reforms aimed at protecting the smaller, weaker colonies from the ever-present threat of larger, more aggressive factions. The idea of galactic neutrality takes root, ensuring that no single species can dominate the others. The days of unchecked power are over. A new era has begun, one where peace is not a privilege for the strong but a right for all. The laws are strict, but they are necessary. Justice will no longer be optional. Gone are the days when aggressors could escape the consequences of their actions. Humanity's victory has set a precedent for accountability. New systems of galactic justice have been established to hold those responsible for instigating conflict accountable. No species, regardless of size or strength, is above the law. Every act of aggression will be met with consequences, and no one will be allowed to take the lives of the innocent without facing the full weight of the galaxy's ire. The Galactic Council, now fractured and humble, must adapt to a new reality. Once complacent in their role, they now face the challenge of maintaining balance in a galaxy that no longer fears them. The reforms they have passed mark the beginning of a new chapter, one where peace and cooperation take precedence over domination and control. The balance of power has shifted, and the Council must work harder than ever to ensure the galaxy's fragile peace does not shatter again. The age of complacency is over. The galaxy has been forever changed by the rise of humanity, and the lesson has been learned. Peace is not a gift, it is a responsibility. The stars had shifted. Galactic charts were redrawn. Alliances came and went. The wounds of the Veltron War, those scarred over, remained etched in memory. But time moved forward, as it always did. And with time came something new. In the quiet reaches of Sector 19 Zeta, explorers encountered a species unlike any catalogued before. Bipedal, luminous-skinned minds sharp with curiosity. They called themselves the Alari. They had no weapons, no empires, only questions. One question, in particular, silenced the room when they were introduced to the Galactic Union. It wasn't meant as a challenge, it was sincere, naive, even. But the room stiffened, eyes flicked toward the delegation from Sol. Even now, decades later, the name carried weight. The question echoed far beyond that chamber, whispered in political hall, etched into academic texts, and pondered by those who still feared the quiet strength behind that single word, humans. They had once been underestimated. Never again. She stood alone. Young, yes, but her voice carried the weight of centuries. Her name was Arin Malikova, and she wore no weapons, only the deep blue robes of the Terran Diplomatic Corps. She stepped forward, her hands steady, her gaze unflinching. "They're the peacekeepers now," she said softly. It was not boastful, it was not proud, it was truth. A hush swept across the chamber. The Alari delegation tilted their heads, confused. Arin continued, her voice tightening. But never forget they tried to warn us. We just didn't listen. A ripple of unease passed through the council. Everyone knew what she meant. Humanity hadn't sought war, but when cornered, when justice was denied, and the council turned its back, they had become something the galaxy had never seen before. Something terrifying, something unbreakable. And then when the galaxy knelt, expecting vengeance, humanity had offered peace instead. That quote is what made them dangerous. The stars glimmered, scattered like diamonds across the void. In the center of the Galactic Forum, an orbital monument of glass and gravity, a new installation took form. Flags from across the galaxy hung suspended in stasis fields, each representing a world, a people, a story. And among them, Earth's flag waved, not highest, not brightest, but with quiet presence. Blue and green, edged with white, a planet of oceans and storms, of steel cities and wild forests, a place where fire had once nearly consumed everything, and yet they endured. They had learned to wield power, and then put it down. The camera panned slowly across the flag, the others beside it, and the bustling life of the Galactic Forum below. Humans walked side by side with aliens once called enemies. They spoke, traded, laughed, even disagreed. But there was no fear, not anymore. The final shot lingered. Earth among the stars. Not a conqueror, not a savior, a warning, and a promise. The galaxy would never forget what humans were capable of. And humanity, wiser now, would never forget what they had almost become.